Good morning, good morning, good world, good morning. This is Views from the 22 live on the scene. I am your host today, Germ So True. We got a special guest in the building. We got a Steelers fan with some objectivity this morning. No shots at anybody. That's just being honest. Ladies and gentlemen, we got my boy, my good friend of a very, very good, polished individual that we have out of our great group, Petty Sports Network affiliated, Views from the 22. We got Mr. Boston this morning. Good morning, bro. How you doing?
Good morning. Good morning. Glad to be here. Hope everybody had a happy holiday, got some good food in, and stayed safe. And excited for some Sunday football.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we're gonna actually jump right into it today, man. We're gonna jump right into it this morning. I mean, me and you had a little bit of an exchange the other day, and we were talking about coaching. And we're talking about clock management, challenges, things like that, and all the things that, of course, like that go into a week of preparation. So I thought it was a great time to really bring that in as we get ready to come down to the back end of the season because this is the time of the year where having a head coach is the most important part. And I think, we're both part of a big fan base at this particular moment in our lives where I feel like we have the best coach right now in the league. And I know he gets a lot of criticism for a lot of things, but I think a lot of the criticism and critiques are unfair sometimes because everything isn't his job as the coach. It's his job to oversee and to trust other people too and delegate things. So the first thing that we really, can touch on is challenges. I know you were really big on the challenges thing. So I'm going to let you dive into that first, and then I'll, rebuttal and we'll exchange from there.
Sure. So yeah, I mean the challenges is the big thing. My initial comment that got us engaged in this conversation was a post talking about how he's historically bad, and so heading into this season, he was 40 and 54 on challenges, 40 and 53 on challenges. He's now 40 and 57. So a little bit under 50%. Um, and to me, from watching every single game and criticizing and dissecting the Steelers more than any other team, obviously there's going to be uh, that bias where you're locked in on when you see one thing more than something else, right? More than the whole group. Obviously, it gets exaggerated a little bit, but still, um, it is one of the lower rates for a long term coach. It's hard to compare him against a lot of guys because there's not too many people like Tomlin. You don't have your Belichick. You got Belichick, you've got Reed, you've got Harbaugh's. Well, you got one Harbaugh who's been around for a while, but outside of those guys and Pete Carroll, there aren't too many guys that get a decade full of a body of work of challenges, and Tomlin is has not been good. So I don't know if you want me to kind of point out a couple
Oh
for an
yeah,
example, or
you can do that. That's fine. That
sure.
works.
Yeah, so I mean, one of the things that I guess just stands out here is the George Pickens catch against the Giants, where I guess the entire world learned that 1 foot hitting twice is not 2 feet um, as a catch in the end zone, right?
Hmm.
So my problem with that is that one that play is going to be reviewed by the eye in the sky regardless because it's a big play. The replay assist is going to take a look at it. Two, Mike Tomlin is on the NFL Rules Committee. So to me, holding Tomlin to the standard that I think he's worthy of, I think he's earned that of being the great NFL mind. Um, you just got to know that. It's just one of those things where I know he holds his guys to that high standard. Um, and you just got to know it. Another one where I kind of have less of an issue on this this challenge, but um, against the Colts, you had that slot receiver, that shifty, smaller slot receiver on
Downs,
a what's that?
Downs,
Downs. Yep, you've got
Downs.
him. You've got him on a short cross against Joey Porter, single coverage. They're in a cover one, and it's a pretty clear completion. uh Tomlin uses challenges it, and he's doing it because Joey Porter's adamant that it was incomplete. But from the TV tape, it's clear that he caught it, and then the challenge was delayed enough to where it feels like that somebody could have had a couple looks, and so a couple looks at it. And so I am supportive of that to an extent because Tomlin is a player's coach and he rides for his guys, and
Mhm.
maybe he's okay with burning that timeout, knowing that hey, we lose this. They just converted another third down after just third down after third down after third down, and so maybe he's okay with that. But that type of situation happens far too often, and I just wonder why the Steelers haven't made a change in having a second person be a set of eyes to aid Tomlin. You would assume that they have that, but after 17 seasons and seeing kind of the same thing over and over, it seems like they don't.
So, first of all, great color commentary there with setting up the play for everybody on that, because that's the most important part of it is what's going on prior to to the whole situation unfolding. And I think the first thing is that second challenge. I appreciate the ability for us to separate, like, hey, we're probably just trying to be there for the player. The thing is, the guy that you bring up, that everybody brings up, is Bill.
Right.
I know Bill is a historically different coach because of where Bill's come from. Bill was a guy that Lawrence Taylor questioned. And then Parcells had to tell Taylor, hey, bro, don't question him, because that defense that you just got all those sacks in, he's the person who created it. He's the person who put you in position to be successful. So don't ask me about this guy. Just trust him. Bill is just different. So it's hard to put people with him. And that's why Bill was so successful. But part of the coaching thing and the coaching carousel that we have is coaches have guys that that they trust, that are eyes for them to tell them if it's a good challenge or not. I think that who Tomlin may trust may be a bigger issue than actual Tomlin in this situation when it comes to the challenges. Because again, there are people who sit in the box. There are people who sit in different places. So why is nobody communicating, hey, Mike, I don't think this is a good challenge, but I think this is a good time to do this. That's the type of stuff, and that's the whole reason why they wearing headsets anyway.
Right.
So again, where I have an issue is I think that Mike just needs to do a better job of delegation in that situation, to maybe delegate to a different set of eyes or sets of eyes so that we can get the challenge situation together. I think that
100%.
part is really, really, really important. But challenges for the Steelers are not as big as they are for other teams. And I
You
don't,
make a great point there.
because it's like if you take the situation, even with that, you still had opportunities to win games. These
Yep.
aren't those challenges where, hey man, hey look, this is a life or death situation. We're gonna lose the game if we don't try this. It's not desperation. Sometimes it's just to try to get a spark. And I think that's another thing that plays a part of it too. So I do like anytime that you hold somebody to a higher standard, they're gonna get screwed. It just happens.
100%.
So I agree. So I like the fact that we were able to talk about that part, and we got right where we needed to get with that. But the other part is we talk about clock management.
Right.
Now this one is the one that I will that I have to bat for more than anything else. because I have seen horrific clock management everywhere. When
Yeah, I
I
mean, all you
tell
had to
you
do
it's
was
go ahead.
turn the TV on this weekend or over this last week, and it's just horrific.
It's bad. And then you
Yeah.
look at it and you say, okay, the first thing is we practice the 2 minute drill. Every week they practice the 2 minute drill. They install the plays. They say, hey, we're going to come out. We're going to run these two plays first. And they practice it with the clock running and with no timeouts. Every team does it every week. Part of this is on your quarterback. I call him Sierra's husband because
Yep.
he makes me upset.
Yep.
But Russ has to do better in this offense and at that in that 2 minute situation because he has to make sure he knows if I throw this short pass and there's a tackle, I have to be able to get away. I have to be able to get to the next play and get everybody lined up again. That's not on Tomlin. That's on Russ because Russ could have made another decision. He could have thrown the ball at their knees to make sure it's not caught. So it's like in that situation, Tomlin should be there to aid them, and he maybe can aid them better if that's what you want him to do. But we pay a quarterback to make sure that he manages the game and the clock and to get everybody lined up. So it's almost like, wait a minute, we've worked all this week on this 2 minute package. We've done all of this preparation this week. And you mean to tell me you went out and you threw that route, knowing that this crossing route is only here to set up this route coming behind it? And because you can't see over the line or because you didn't make the proper read, here we are in a situation where now I have to bring in Tomlin to call timeouts and babysit us down the field. That shouldn't be the situation. And I think that comes with a first year quarterback. But if, but as we bring in some of those other factors, what do you think? What are your ultimate thoughts of like maybe we need to focus more on the 2 minute drill in practices?
So I think there's a couple things I want to touch on here real quick, and there's a guy I got a shout out because you talked about Russ knowing that maybe throw the ball down at his knees, and Russ is a Hall of Fame quarterback, Super Bowl winning quarterback. He's been around, he's got the experience. Uh, as a side note here, I don't think that there's a quarterback in the league right now that is as aware of ways to mitigate sacks than Jaden Daniels. I mean, watching that guy uh, dump the ball down when he's getting that pressure and avoid sacks has been really impressive. As to your question about the 2 minute warning, I would imagine that that is probably one of the most consistently emphasized portions of practice week by week in Pittsburgh. I would imagine that with the way that we are almost always in one score games, we're always you know this season for sure against the clock at the end of the half. I think that and we've outside of a few games, we've had pretty low scoring, and so all the points matters whenever you're trying to play this knockdown drag out game where you're wearing them down. Every point matters, and so to me, I can't see being unprepared as a unit in 2 minute warning situations being the case. And if so, I I would put that on Tomlin.
Yeah, now
I
that part
mean,
would be on Tomlin because that's part of the coach's job is to make sure we're prepared. That's
yeah,
his number one job.
absolutely. Number one job. And I do want to say you made a comment also that it could be it might not be that there's not a person there, but maybe it's an issue with the guy that he trusts. And I think that that could be the case. I mean, it's kind of similar to the Matt Canada experiment, where he brought in a guy that he trusted, he believed in, he wanted to give a shot, and he, I mean, he lives and dies on the hill that he stands on, like Tomlin does. He's not he's unapologetic, he makes his decisions, and he, for the most part, owns up to them. And I think that there, you could be right there. I think that there's a chance that maybe the guy that he has in his ear on those is somebody that is not going to press the issue as much as maybe he should. And that to me still goes back to Mike Tomlin. I mean, you've got you're a commander, you're a leader of men, you're a phenomenal leader of men. Um, and I'm trying to figure out how to circle all this in here, but I think that my biggest point here, or my biggest theory on this, is that the things that make him such a great coach in most of the game is what hurts him here. And it's his attention to the details of the emotions of the players. I mean, it's funny when he's been asked about some of George Pickens' antics and stuff, and he's saying he hadn't seen it yet. Yes, you did. When a guy is smirking after a play, every detail, and you're managing those things. And so when when he's tuned into those the emotional roller coaster, keeping everybody even kill, preparing for the next player, the next series or whatever. You just Nobody, not even Bill Belichick, can be 100% on every single detail. And so I think that that's where you have to have better support there, and somebody that will say, uh, Mike, you have to challenge this. Mike, do not challenge this. And if he, you know what, if he has a feeling and he wants to go against the grain on that, but there's evidence that someone is telling him, no, don't do it, or hey, do it, and he chooses to go opposite of that, I think I can accept that, as opposed to just wondering what the heck is going on.
Absolutely, because knowing gives you at least that piece of evidence that is something in place that can stop it.
Right.
I'm with you. You know, again, what makes him great can also be some things that hurts. It's kind of it's a double-edged sword with people's personalities. The things that great leaders are normally great with something, but then they lack somewhere else. But that's why you have other guys to help you out and balance it out. And maybe the support system could be a little bit better. Not saying it's terrible, but it could be better. But
Right.
if we're at a stage, but I just want you to think about this, Boston. If we're at a stage where we're critiquing these type of things, and we're talking about a guy who has never had a bad season, meaning a losing season.
Right.
He's never drafted a first round quarterback
No, not a
because
true one.
was Kenny Pickett first round? I think he was first round.
Kenny Pickett was 22, I think, pick 22 or 20.
So you never drafted in this scenario, and I was just talking about this with Jaquan and Tony the other day. Mike Tomlin has never drafted in the top 10 of an NFL draft,
No,
besides the year they traded up with Denver from 20 to 10 to get Devin Bush.
Devin Bush, exactly.
So you got a guy who's never been hypothetically in a situation where he wasn't in the playoff scenario
Yep.
or pushing to be in the playoffs. And then you turn around with that, and we got fans that say things like, oh, well, that doesn't mean anything because that's getting played out now because we're not winning. But
Right.
half the time, they're not even supposed to be in the playoffs.
Right. 100%. I mean, it's funny, and I know you've seen me say this a lot, but Lamar's only win against the Steelers, and he's been out. He's sat out a lot of games. It came against Duck Hodges and Mason, and it came in overtime. And the fact that season specifically, that Pittsburgh was even competitive, is remarkable.
I don't think anybody has like I don't, Ben is a Hall of Fame quarterback. No matter what you think about him off the field, in my
Yep.
opinion, I would take Ben Roethlisberger over guys like Peyton Manning and Aaron Rodgers every day because what I call him is a taker in this world. I
Yep.
don't want my quarterback as somebody who's not a taker. Why am I a Brady fan? Because Brady go take it on the field. It's not
Yep.
about because you can't control football as a game where you can put the whole game plan together. It
Yep.
could be the greatest game plan in the world, and you come out and the kick returner fumbles the ball, and
Yep.
now you're behind where you thought you would be at this point in the game, or your superstar player makes an uncanny mistake in a situation that they don't normally make the mistake. You got to be able to bounce back, hold that player up, and get that player to go back out there sometimes and regain what it is that they were trying to regain. We're not talking about
Absolutely.
we're not talking about situations where everything just goes perfect. This
Right.
is the thing about the game that people have to understand. And this is why I hold Mike Tomlin so high because he's adapted to so many different types of personnel groupings, so many different situations. Not the best offensive line, not the best salary cap situation, trying to take care of veteran players, doing all of these things while still manufacturing talent. TJ Watt wasn't picked number one overall. He was
Nope.
picked in the late 20s. That doesn't mean he wasn't a good player. That just means that he wasn't on the same tier as Myles Garrett in a lot of people's eyes as from a scouting perspective. So for him and Myles Garrett to be 1 and 2 and from that draft class in respective sacks, and TJ to be above Miles by a few sacks, that says a lot about coaching. That says a lot about what he's done for TJ and what they've done at Pittsburgh with TJ in general.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. And TJ is a topic of his own that it's is worth getting to. But you're right. And Pittsburgh has. Do you know when Pittsburgh's last top five pick was?
the last top five pick, if I'm not mistaken, that would have been Cower. So that would have been Cower, and it might have been about 4 years after Noel, if I'm not mistaken.
You would think because there were a couple rough seasons there. 1970.
I mean, what kind of
19,
organization are we running here? Obviously, it's a top
1970.
tier one.
Terry Bradshaw. I mean, uh, yeah. And like you said, we haven't been in the top 10 except for trading up for Devin Bush. It's funny talking about the TJ Watt pick, man. I remember um, being bummed when the Cowboys got Leighton Vander Esch. And then we got this guy named TJ. Uh, and look at where that's turned out. Um, Over the course of the last couple years, I mean, we're seeing them turn Nick Herbig into a great pass rusher, and I honestly thought that he probably should be an off-ball linebacker,
Mm-hmm.
and he's proved me wrong. I mean, Logan Wilson, obviously. If we're talking about some of my favorite picks of recent, which I know this isn't the topic of the show, but man,
No,
Zach
no, no.
Frazier is a
Throw it in
dog.
there, man. We got time.
Zach Frazier is a dog. Um, and Mason McCormick is too. He's a menace. He's got a obviously Mason McCormick's got a lot of work to do to grow here, but man, we've got a bright future there. And while we're talking about the O line, I got my Broderick Jones jersey on today, and this is my first time that I've worn this jersey. And the reason why is because of Tomlin. And it's because he's a big key to this game. And it's because Tomlin is going to have to continue to boost Broderick up and manage him the way that he does, because he's got a challenge with Trey Hendrickson today. So that's the key to the game. But and to wrap it back into the topic, talking about O line, I always think about this moment when he's talking to Marquise Pouncey on the sideline, and he's telling him, "Come on, man, you got to do better. I don't care if you spit in your face." And you can just hear his voice, and it's in the heat of the moment, and he's having to nurture and calm down. Probably a Hall of Fame center, maybe. I mean,
I mean,
centers are hard to get in there.
he's a
He's
good one.
he was a cornerstone of the franchise for a long, long time, over probably about a little over a decade. Anyways, a guy that it was an incredible center, a veteran guy. He was testy, but it's those key details that Tomlin's able to tap in and bring players back to where they need to be and to manage them. He knows that with George Pickens, you can't blast him publicly, which Tomlin doesn't really do anyways. guys like Broderick, he says when he's proud of him. He says when he needs to get stuff done. And so that's something that's great about him and being able to manage those personalities. But I think that that comes back to some of the issues with clock management and challenges. When you've got your pulse and your energy, your intuition, your focus is so deeply rooted in your personnel and their feelings and their actions and their thoughts and preparing them for the next moment, it's got to be ridiculously incredible, ridiculously difficult to have that same pulse on the clock and
Absolutely.
and the challenges. I mean,
Because that's why so many eyes that matter because it's so much going on.
yeah.
It's so
Now,
much going
last
on.
year, or historically, it's kind of funny here. I've got it pulled up. So Mike Tomlin is 24th best all time at 430, which if he's playing baseball, that's Hall of Fame average, right? But it's funny because Arthur Smith is 25, John Harbaugh is 26, and then Bill Belichick is 27. Uh, and then Pete Carroll, I guess, is a more fair reference probably than Belichick, which Tomlin's better than him historically. Uh, Pete Carroll was 51 successful challenges against 61 unsuccessful challenges, so he's really not as far off. But I think that the ones that we see seem to be blatantly obvious more often than they
Mhm.
should be. And then the ones that when you would think that he should challenge, I think oftentimes he doesn't. In those moments where it's like, hey, they're driving down the field. Uh we need to give the defense a break anyways. And it's in those moments that they don't that it seems like he doesn't call them.
And and it's right there in that situation, like to pull up to reel ourselves back into reality, right?
Right.
The fact that he's 143 and he's eight off of a guy who's 70 some years old that's had two different NFL stints.
Right.
That's crazy. That this
Yeah.
is all in. This is all in a one-time stint for him.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Pete Carroll has coached in the NFL probably, or coached in the NFL probably close to the amount of time that Mike Tomlin has been alive.
Exactly. And remember, Pete Carroll was one of the people responsible for the Reggie Bush situations. He has a lot of player juice in this world we live in.
A
So
lot.
we're not talking about just anybody. Same thing for Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick has been coaching longer than this guy's probably been alive. And you
Yes. Oh
talking
yeah.
about guys so to put him against those two guys, you kind of just look and say, man, do we gotta have something here because this guy is up here with some guys who went through some struggles with quarterbacks, went through some different things. Hell, in 20 years, Bill Belichick never had a bad season. Obviously, he had Tom Brady, but he had something consistent.
Yep.
Who's Tom Brady?
And Roethlisberger. I mean,
And even with that, it's like that what Tomlin didn't pick Ben Roethlisberger. So
no,
he's made good on everything that he's been given and nurtured and watered it the best he could to get the most out of it. And that's what we love about him the most. Now,
100%.
real quick, we're going to spin this real quick for a quick little dabble into what we talk about with coaching in general. The reason why I'm so hard on coaching now is because the preparation has not been the same. There are way too many scenarios and situations we are not prepared for. We know that in situations teams make plays because that's what they're paid to do. When I watch Ohio State lose yesterday 13-10 on their home field, I don't see missed field goals as the reason why they lost. I see you score 10 points. 10 points. You can't capitalize in the red zone against this team because your quarterback doesn't do the things that we need them to do consistently on third downs. And most importantly, that means that if we can't run the ball, and that's a big problem for me. If we can't run the ball, the quarterback has to be able to run the offense, and with short passes, be able to create better scenarios. But
Yep.
that comes from coaching and game planning. So why are we not implementing these things in our game plan during the week just in case? Why is this not something we can go to, a la Brady, a la Big Ben? If the Steelers couldn't run the ball 10 years ago, you know what
Yep.
Ben did? He got in that shotgun, he pointed at people, and he started moving people around, and they went no huddle.
Yeah. Todd Haley
Every
with
team should be able to do that. Go ahead.
100% on. Yeah. Like the Todd Haley offense where Ben had what, 3 games in a row of 500 plus yards. Couldn't run the ball. Couldn't run the ball. It was the short passes, manufacturing a semblance of a run game that way.
But those
And
things are the reasons why we need better preparation and the coaches to be more on hands. But we don't have any good
yep.
quarterbacks coaches anymore.
No, and this is a topic too, right? Where it's like what's happening with the game of football and the development of players, and are we seeing these systems being created where one, quarterbacks aren't getting the opportunity to develop, but two, they've never actually learned how to make full reads because of the where football's at. I mean, these 7-on-7 camps, you've got designed maybe 2 or 3 routes that you're throwing to half the field. Pittsburgh was certainly doing that with Justin Fields early on, where it was like that a quarter or a third of the field is pretty much not even in play here. But what I guess here, what is Tomlin? What's his quote that he says where he talks about he does what other coaches are unwilling to do. Like other coaches are lazy, where they don't want to coach a player, they don't want to make them grow.
Mm-hmm.
And we see a guy get fired in Eberflus midweek, which this is the first time in the 100-year history of the Bears that they've fired a coach in season. Justin Fields and Caleb Williams, you're not seeing any progression there. Where does the sport go?
So this is for me, right? Like this is me right here talking. And this is on record, so I hope an NFL executive sees this. Just hire me and I can fix it. Because we're going to get back to the basics. The basics are this. We started off with the West Coast offense, with the Air Coryell, the Earnhardt-Perkins system. And all of those systems have different things in place, and they challenge you in different ways. The West Coast is perimeter-oriented, get your athletes going, moving side to side. But you also you need vertical threat to really, really hone in the entire offense, which is why you got guys like John Taylor and Jerry Rice that work so well together in that system with all of the players that they had around it. So then you go to the Air Coryell. Air Coryell is Dallas Cowboys, touchdown Cowboys, Michael Irvin, not Barry, Emmitt Smith, all those guys, Troy Aikman. That's what that was about. But the Air Coryell was literally a system where you just named the route of what each player was doing with the number concept that it came with. So if Mike was running a 9 is a fly and everything else like that. But that offense was more driven and driving the ball down the field. The Earnhardt-Perkins system, Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, we're talking Charlie Weis. Charlie Weis is probably one of my favorite offensive minds because he simplified the game at another level for with the way they did the Earnhardt-Perkins. Earnhardt-Perkins is personnel groupings and numbers. So if we're running a 12 personnel, 22, that means we're going to run this 12 personnel, we're spreading it out, and we're doing this. So all I got to do as the quarterback is I got to signal to you what I want to do from there. But once Brady learned that offense, the 2-minute was a mastery. So you have to know where we started. We start with those 3 offenses. Now we're to the point now where we're running different variations of it, but we're spreading the linemen out because the linemen aren't as big. So we're trying to make sure that our smaller quarterbacks, because the quarterbacks aren't as tall anymore, we run air raid concepts. Air raid concepts give more gaps in between the tackles and the guards so
Yep.
that the quarterback can see and try to get through to the windows. But also the air raid is also like a fast break on the perimeter with your receivers because now we're trying to create 2-on-3 matchups. That's what Pat Mahomes was doing at Texas Tech early in his career to now being able to make full field reads. But what does he have that other people don't have? He has Andy Reid, which is probably one of the 5 best offensive minds to ever grace our field. So you're
Yep.
talking about where we miss it. It's the lack of understanding what offense used to be and being able to use those same concepts because those concepts still work. The problem is we're bringing in quarterbacks like Bryce Young and we're not developing them because we can't develop them because we
Right.
can't get the time to do it because we keep shortening training camps. We keep shortening this. We keep taking this away. Getting on that blackboard used to be the first thing that showed me you were a quarterback. Can you understand what we're doing here first and why we put together these concepts? Because that right there is the key.
Yep.
So as we transition to picking, I want everybody out there to really start thinking Sean McVay and all of these guys that are offensive geniuses, they all come from conventional offenses and they've done innovative and creative things. But Sean McVay has a quarterback in Matthew Stafford, who's still one of the 10 best quarterbacks in football. Dan Campbell over there in Detroit, he has a guy named Jared Goff who isn't a bad quarterback, and he was still developed by Sean McVay.
Yep.
Also, the NFC version of Pat Mahomes' little brother is Jordan Love. Jordan Love has Matt LaFleur. Matt
Yep.
LaFleur is probably one of the 3 best quarterback coaches still left because he
And
has
and
real
LaFleur
quarterbacks in
came
there.
from the Shanahan tree too, right?
Exactly.
Yep.
He
He's
came from the Shanahan tree too, but he's the best one out of all of them with quarterbacks. Look at
yeah.
what he did with Aaron Rodgers. Look at what he's done with Aaron Rodgers. And now Jordan Love looks better than Aaron Rodgers in the same system.
Yeah, he does. And he's got to get credit for really understanding his guys and what he can do because they didn't lose a game with Malik Willis early in the season whenever
No,
Jordan Love was out. And I mean, I know he was in Tennessee last year, but uh you're talking about a, a team that I think most of the world probably expected to drop 2 or 3 of those 3 games.
exactly. And look at where they are. Their only 3 losses this year are to the Minnesota Vikings,
Yep.
the Detroit Lions, and the Philadelphia Eagles. I want everybody to realize that Green Bay has only lost to those teams, and they were 1 or 2 possession games where they could have been different.
Yep.
So don't be shocked don't be shocked at little Jordan and them getting ready to do something. Now, last 7, 8 minutes here of the show. We're gonna do some pick'ems, and then we're gonna get you out of here.
Let's do it.
First and foremost, we're gonna start with Minnesota. Minnesota today is taking on the Arizona Cardinals. I'm gonna be honest with you. This is a huge game. Huge game. Minnesota can't afford to drop a game right now because Green Bay is right there on their heels. But most importantly, Arizona has a whole division behind them right now that is literally barking on their heels. And they just lost last week to Seattle.
Yep.
Um, let's start at the top. I mean, obviously Kyler Murray having a better year. We got Sam Darnold's resurgence, but I still see a lot of things there that we're gonna have to work on with Sam Darnold because coming into this playoff stretch, we can't be inconsistent. Yeah, Boston, give me your keys to the game and make your pick.
Man, we've got a great defense overall in Minnesota. Really good run defense. Last week, Kyler Murray had a pretty bad game. and a lot of that I think stemmed from not getting the running game going. James Conner was pretty well non-existent. I believe he just got an extension. And you know, we're talking about a resilient guy there in James Conner. At the end of the day, if they can't get James Conner going, I don't think that they have a shot, even with Kyler Murray's ability to extend plays. So I'm taking Minnesota in this one. I don't know what the spread is, but I'm taking Minnesota by a touchdown. Honestly,
Touchdown. Okay, that's
yeah,
fair.
yeah.
All right, the next game we're gonna pick, we're gonna do the Baltimore Ravens. They are playing today, the Philadelphia Eagles, City of Brotherly Love.
And
Starting off
thank
at
you
the
for
top.
being at 3:30 or 3:05. Thank you for being the second hour because man, I did not want to miss that one.
Yeah, absolutely. But they got to spread them out some type of way. AFC
Yep.
North football is worth watching every week.
Oh
It
yeah.
doesn't matter the records; it's always good.
Oh yeah.
So we got Lamar versus Jalen, two guys that are really, really similar in the way that they play the game. I think Jalen has had a little bit better nurturing as some quarterback aspects than Lamar. And I'm going to be completely. I don't have any problem with being objective with that situation because you can see the development because Lamar is not as good as Jalen on some of the outside the number throws. Obviously, the way he uses AJ Brown is the way you would want him to use Zay Flowers in a lot of different ways. But with those things being said, we got that particular matchup of AJ Brown versus Marlon Humphrey today is going to be a big one. I think the most fun that we're going to get today is we may get three possessions apiece in the first half and three possessions apiece in the second half. We may get 12 possessions total because the way both of these teams should be running the ball and focused on running the ball and sustaining drives should be what this game is about. It should be a grind them out. We need to make score 7 in the red zone and kick no field goals type of game where we run the ball at least 25 times. Your keys to the game, and I'm gonna let you pick.
I mean, so I think Devontae Smith is out. I haven't
Yes,
looked
sir.
at the final injury report. Um, and I'm taking the Ravens here because I think that Saquon Barkley's incredible historic stretch is probably coming to a little bit of a halt. Like, how can you stay that strong this long? Roquan Smith is back. I believe he's back. And I know that there's probably been a big emphasis on the run game this week. So give me the Ravens, but certainly rooting for the Eagles in this one.
All right. So let me real quick. I mean, I'm picking the Vikings as well from the first game. For this game here, I believe I'm gonna give out what I believe and I'm gonna pick. I believe this is a must-win game for the Eagles because Baltimore is a team that presents something different. They present a team that you would play in the playoff scenario. That's a team that you would have to beat to win a Super Bowl, potentially.
Right.
You can't win this game. I kind of look at you the same way that I look at you all already, which is you're going to play well, but you're not going to get where you need to get because there are things there. But I'm also going to pick the Ravens because until they do it, Lamar has not lost any games except for to Daniel Jones in the NFC. Until y'all beat him, I can't pick him.
Yep.
Can't pick you.
Yep. No, that's true. I'm with that. They do not have a pulse on him in the NFC.
So last game before we jump off, we got our Pittsburgh Steelers playing the Cincinnati Bengals. They are in Cincinnati. Um, man, it's really simple, man. As much as I'm a huge Jamar Chase guy. Love him. I think obviously I think he's one of the best in the league. I know we can't stop him. But you know what we're gonna have to do? Keep Minka. I don't want to see Minka in the box today. I want to see him deep.
Yep.
I want to see the pass rush do their job today. And I really, most importantly, I just want Russ today to just ball control offense. Let's move the ball down the field. Let's run the ball. Let's make 15 play drives to keep our offense on the field, and most importantly, help the defense out for a week. Because this is the type of
100%.
team that we should be able to do that against. So go ahead.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. We're getting Montravis Adams back today. That's going to be big. So that Keanu Benton can, you know, play more of his nose tackle position, his DT position, as opposed to being on the outside there. Pittsburgh's had a challenge running against teams that they should have been able to run against, and the Cowboys when they were beaten up, and obviously our offensive line hasn't been cohesive as a unit, but the Colts as well. I think that if Pittsburgh is able to keep Joe Burrow under 40 passes today, as opposed to being over 50 like he has the last couple of weeks, that says that we're sustaining drives on offense and we're winning the game. I also want to make a call here. If I were actively gambling, I would take a Minka Fitzpatrick interception prop, and he hasn't had an interception since 2022. A lot of that has been because he's been in the box. We've used him to spy. He always spies Lamar. But with Deshaun Elliott being probably one of our best defensive players, if not our best defensive player this season, it's opened Minka up, and I'm calling a Minka Fitzpatrick interception today. Give me the Steelers.
I'm rolling with the Steelers today as well. Like I said, I just think that this is the perfect type of game for the Steelers to really be able to put it all together, bounce back from that was a tough game last week.
Yep.
You're in the snow. You didn't expect it to be like that. You played against a team, obviously, that is better than their record. We got to be honest, they're better than their record. We would say what you want to say about the Deshaun situation, but they're better than what they presented on tape. And a lot of people know that. So, I mean, it is what it is. So coming back to the beginning of the show, like I said, it was a pleasure to bring you on. Man, you got a little future in this, man. You got some got a little future in this if you wanted to, you never know.
Man, I being in law school is takes a lot of my time, but my beach is definitely in football. So I'd love to join y'all again. It's been a pleasure, and I appreciate you having me on here.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely, man. So any final thoughts for the week before we go?
Man, looking forward to this Hard Knocks that's coming out. I think it starts Tuesday actually of this week maybe, but AFC North Hard Knocks, it's going to be great. I hate that the cameras are in the building as a Steelers fan. As a football fan and for the team, I hate it. But as a fan of the team, not from a football standpoint, I love to be able to see it. I think it's going to be great. Pittsburgh's got a brutal gauntlet here with 10. You got the Bengals today, and then you've got at Philadelphia, at Baltimore, and then the Chiefs at home on Christmas in a 10-day stretch. So this, to me, is kind of a must-win game for the Steelers. Like you said, it was a must-win game for the Eagles, and we just can't afford to give away any more free ones, and this is far from free being an AFC North game. I think that we're gonna have a knockdown drag out at the 3:00 hour as well. Looking forward to that, and I think my final piece here, man. Until we see otherwise, Patrick Mahomes has the crown, and he'll have it. That's it.
Hey, listen, objectivity is the best thing, man. But listen, I'll tell you the one thing that we can say about Pat is as long as he has the puppet master, and that's Andy Reid, I don't think there's really much that teams can say because that relationship is the ultimate equalizer in football.
Yep.
If there's just
One of a kind.
we don't have a matchup for that on the opposite end because you're hoping that LaFleur and maybe Jordan Love or Dan Campbell and Jared Goff, you're hoping that there's another combination, but the way that this guy just makes it happen is just different. And we've only seen one guy do it like him, and that's the guy ironically that he's lost to more times than only other player that's beat Patrick Mahomes is the quarterback we play today, named Joe Burrow.
Yep.
Put that into perspective.
Yep. Absolutely. German, again, I appreciate it. I got to shake. Have a great day watching football. And again, thanks for having me on. Here we go, Steelers.
Absolutely. Go Steelers. And for the viewers out there, Fuse 122,